All right. Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to the Strong Voices, Strong Subjects Luncheon. I'm happy to see so many of you here today. Thank you for making the time. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of getting to know, my name is Antonia Roll, CEO of Project 180. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge a couple people who are here today, County Commissioner Smith and County Commissioner Neuter. I've spent more than a decade helping people in this community and nearby areas find jobs, secure housing, and connect with the resources they need. I've seen firsthand how having someone in your corner mentor you and be a coach, there to support you and encourage you towards your goals, help you pursue training and education and better paying opportunities can truly help you change the course of your life. Having someone believe in you, guide you, and give you hope can make your goals feel like they're possible. I can also tell you the individuals returning to society after incarceration face some of the greatest obstacles I've seen. They experience some of the highest unemployment rates among any population in our country. And finding affordable housing with any felony charges on your records can be almost impossible. Many of the things that people need to help them succeed in life are things that they have not had access to. Things like positive social capital and love. But beyond these challenges, many of the men that we serve have also experienced deep trauma. Many grew up without the safety and stability every child deserves. Some encountered addiction early in life before they had the tools to overcome it. I remember reading a letter from one of our residents that really stayed with me. He wrote about riding his bike as a kid. He remembers riding his bike along and discovering drugs. And he said it's like he never really grew up. He's about to turn 40 this year, and it's the first time in his life he's really felt like a real responsible adult. And when you hear stories like that, you begin to understand that stopping substance abuse is more than just stopping substance abuse. There's so much more to it. When you go from a child straight into addiction, you never really get the chance to learn how to be an adult. So when you hear stories like that, you understand that recovery is really about learning how to live. And that's what we do at Project 180. We help people learn how to live. Before continuing, I want to take a moment to recognize the people who make this work possible. At Project 180, we believe that transformation happens in community. Today, some of our residents are going to help us thank the individuals and organizations who support this mission. So at this time, please welcome to the stage Alex Hull, John Battle, and Jason Resendez. We ask that you please hold your applause until they are all finished recognizing all of our sponsors. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We are grateful to all of our Breaker of Chain sponsors. First, Maxer Studios for partnering with us to bring you Uncuffed Conversations, a Project 180 video podcast giving us a larger platform and opportunity for all of our voices to be heard. Thank you to Verizon and the Koski Family Foundation for your ongoing support. Thank you, Service Pros Autoglass, for your leadership in supporting this work and believing in second chances. We are also deeply grateful to the Community Foundation of Sarasota County and the Gulf Coast Community Foundation for believing in this work and investing in second chances. We also want to thank David Schul of Beneva, our board chair, whose business donated the beautiful centerpieces this afternoon. David at Beneva is also a proud Second Chance employer who has employed many of the residents, including myself. And thank you to Ken Richmond and his wife Kathleen. We also want to thank Ken for recently accepting the position as Vice Chair and attending the Gulf Coast Community Foundation's Board Institute for Nonprofits. Your support truly makes transformation possible. Thank you.
We are also grateful for our game changer sponsors. Thank you to the Boxer Diversity Initiative for the longtime support. The Creed family for their fierce advocacy on our behalves of the Sarasota Yacht Club. The Sidekick Creative for help with marketing and communication. We appreciate you, Amanda. Thank you to Wendy and Jim Cox for believing in Second Chance and investing in this work. We also want to recognize Wendy Cox, who previously served on Project 180 board and continues to support this mission. Your commitment means more than you know.
We are also grateful for the support of our future sponsors. First Atlantic, TNC, another of our awesome Second Chance employers. Also, thank you to Johnson Plumbing for your support. And a special shout out and thank you to Second Chance Home Solution for showing up time and time again. Also, as a graduate and mentor, and for your we are also proud and humbled by your generosity. Your investment in this work helps create real opportunities for people who are committed to rebuilding their lives. Thank you for believing in transformation.
We would also like to thank our change agent sponsors. Thank you, Promotion Marketing Services, for recognizing their amazing work we do here at Project 180. Thank you to longtime sponsors Goodwill Minnesota, Surge Speedy, and our financial literacy partners at Centennial Bank and Cruz Bank and Trust. Thank you to Monica Waterman, LLC Realtor, our board secretary, and to Stephen and Kelly Conroy for your generous support. We also want to thank and acknowledge Steve, your work as our governance committee chair. Thank you, change agent sponsors, for walking alongside us.
Let's give them another round of applause. I would also like to recognize the incredible leadership that guides this organization. Project 180 would not be what it is without our board of directors and our volunteers who serve on our committees. If our board and committee members could please stand so we can recognize you. Where are you at? There they are. Thanks, Vince. Thank you for your leadership and your commitment to this work. And I also want to recognize the many volunteers and community partners who share their time, knowledge, and talents with our residents. From those who teach financial literacy in the jails to workforce development and job readiness, to the individuals who come to our homes and teach skills to support our men. Your contributions truly change lives. And I also have a personal thank you. I want to take a few moments to thank some people who are here today. First, I want to take a moment to recognize the truly irreplaceable woman who worked so hard to found Project 180, Barbara Richards. Where are you? Where are you at? Where are you at, Barbara? Oh, there she is. Thank you for your vision, for the years you spent building this organization, and for trusting me to carry this work forward. The culture of love and accountability you created at Project 180 is still present today and is truly phenomenal. We all thank you. To my parents, who I was looking for earlier and I couldn't find, who never gave up on me. Even during the times in my life when they were receiving collect calls from Navarro County jails in Texas, they still showed up to support me. Thank you for the consistent, unconditional love that you've shown me and Elijah, my son. And I want to thank my husband, Delario, for understanding all the late nights and weekends that come with this work. He's the guy cooking mac and cheese and ribs when I say I'm cooking Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner for the guys. And he never gets jealous when he sees me hugging people or loving on them with my food. Thank you for supporting me in this mission. And there's someone else I want to recognize this morning. Instead of hearing from me, I thought it would be much more meaningful to hear from John Dowry, one of our residents and one of the many individuals in this community whose life has been directly impacted by this individual. Here's Johnny.
Wow. What a difference 1 year can make. This is amazing. My name is John Doherty, and I'm a current resident at Project 180 and have been for just a few days over a year now. Today I have the honor of presenting the award for Volunteer of the Year to a man who has had a tremendous impact in the recovery community and a man who means a great deal to me personally, Mr. Bob Benson. Many of you know Bob through his various service commitments. Currently, Bob serves on the board of directors for Project 180 and also chairs the marketing and fundraising committee. Beyond that, Bob has been instrumental in connecting Project 180 with allies in our community. So many of us trying to rebuild our lives have had help from Bob, many in this room. His service transcends any one program. He has helped open doors for people just like us, just like me, within other programs like Purpose House, Healthy Habits, and Sarasota County Jail's Recovery Pod. Bob has a knack for helping connect people in need with others who know just how to help. Bob has also been a guiding presence for our new CEO, Tony, as the organization continues to grow. But the reason presenting this award to this man means so much to me is because I've seen who Bob is when nobody's watching. And I know the caliber of man Bob is from behind the other end of a prison phone. I first met Bob locked up. I was in the recovery pod in Sarasota County Jail, and a friend from the street who I was locked up with and respected a great deal told me, "Now that man right there is a real one, and when he talks, you listen." So I did. You meet a lot of people when you're locked up who talk real good about change and recovery. But Bob was someone who really shows up. While I was still inside, Bob got in contact with my family. He encouraged them. He helped guide them and understand what options might be available to me when I got out. Bob was the first person who suggested Project 180 to me, the very first person. And coming here was the best decision I have ever made in my life. And I wouldn't not have made it without Bob's guidance. And that day came when I was released from prison. And it's kind of a strange moment, you know. The gates open, and everything just seems really big and really uncertain. And I walked out those gates not having any idea what the next chapter of my life was going to look like. No idea. But there was one thing I did know. That was that Bob Benson was in the parking lot waiting for me. He drove hours. He drove hours just to pick me up from Hernando Correctional and bring me home to Project 180. And I remember getting in that car and realizing something. In that moment, I was not doing this alone. That's who Bob is. Bob's a door opener. He opens doors for organizations, he opens doors for opportunities, and he opens doors for people who are trying to live a better way of life. For a lot of us in recovery, we spend years losing our voice. Prison takes it, addiction takes it, and shame takes it. But people like Bob remind us that our voice is worth finding. So Bob, on behalf of Project 180 and everyone whose life you've touched, it is my honor to present you with the Strong Voices Volunteer of the Year Award.
Is this why you had me call him?
Here you go.
No. Did you set this up?
No, I did not. I just said I want to speak. I said I got to be the guy to do it. Absolutely. Here, this. Thank you, sir.
Are you leaving?
No, I'm not
Are you
leaving.
clicking?
Nope, no, you
Practice.
cannot. You got to say something. You got
Yeah.
at least a minute.
John tells me I have to say something. I'm honored and humbled, and I had no idea. So all these people who know me and knew about this and didn't tell me, I'm pissed. Boy. You know, it's, for me, been a journey in my own recovery, and part of that is doing what I believe in more than anything, which is stay sober and help others. And over the years, and I've been teaching in the Sarasota jail since June of '09, I came to learn about Project 180 and its development and its growth and the leadership that was involved with the entire program. And it was, sort of bittersweet for me. I wish my son had an opportunity to go there. But I'm one of those people who unfortunately lost a son to this disease. So to be able to give back and do something and to understand what it's like for any child to come out of prison and how difficult that struggle is. It's sometimes comes full circle for me because my son had one daughter who on Monday this week, at the age of 17, celebrated 9 months sobriety. She actually asked me if I'd take her fishing. So I have a lot to be grateful for. I have a lot of friends. I'm a big believer in Project 180 and the gifts that they provide to all the residents and the alumni. It's really gratifying to see guys come out and not just get a job, but to develop a career. To see some of them go to college. It's fun, you know? It just warms my soul and feeds my spirit, and it will be a continued lifetime commitment for me in just trying to give back to those people who are in recovery, and especially those in the reentry process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. And now I'd like to invite you to enjoy your lunch for a little while and connect with the people at your table, and we'll begin our program shortly. When I first met the men at Project 180 and started getting to know their stories, I found myself thinking about the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who talks about how transformation begins when we relax the heart and awaken the brain. And the more time I spend with our residents, the more that idea has stayed with me, because that's exactly what I see happening in our homes. I remember one of our residents, Alex, telling me that something that really stuck with me. He said, it was the first time in decades that he's been able to sleep with his wallet on the bedside table. He trusted the men he lived with so much that he knew when he woke up in the morning, it would still be there untouched. And for him, that feeling of trust meant everything. That's what happens when people feel safe. The heart softens, and when the heart softens, the mind opens to new possibilities. And that's what we see happening every single day in our houses. The men support one another, they build trust, they build brotherhood. Even after they graduate, they come back to mentor, to support, and sometimes just because they need their brothers. The sense of community is one of the most powerful things that we do. And now I'd like to recognize a partner who has helped us bring trauma education to our program. Please help me welcome Jennifer Johnston, the Director of Community Leadership at the Gulf Coast Community Foundation.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Johnston, and on behalf of Gulf Coast Community Foundation, we're grateful to stand with you in building a community where everyone has the chance to thrive. We are proud, longstanding supporters of Project 180 because they invest in people. There's more work to do to create systems of rehabilitation and care, but today we celebrate progress and the courage it takes to begin again. We're thrilled that Project 180 was selected for Gulf Coast's Project HEAL, which stands for Helping Everyone Align with Love. This donor-supported effort helps organizations embed trauma-informed care into everything they do, promoting healing for those they serve, their staff, and community. The Project 180 team has already participated in educational and rejuvenating sessions at Resilient Retreat. Project 180 is leading by example, prioritizing well-being, listening to participants, and building a culture of dignity and empowerment. Emily and Essence Deming-Rivers, who are here today with Deming-Rivers Social Club, provide coaching through Project HEAL. They shared, Project 180 doesn't just provide services, they lead with lived experience. Their trailblazing approach is redefining outreach and impact in our community. Thank you, Emily and Essence. I am personally grateful for Project 180's mission. A childhood friend of mine has struggled for most of his life with addiction and incarceration. When he was last released, he was dropped off in a rural area with nothing. No ID, no money, no ride. Reintegration is a long, difficult climb, and that's why this work matters so deeply. Project 180 reminds people they don't have to make that climb alone, as we heard today so eloquently. That makes all the difference. It's a joy to be here with you and to share the stage with my inspiring friend, who you'll hear from next, Catherine Greenberg, who brings light and love into so many challenging places. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you to the Gulf Coast Community Foundation for all that you do. And now I'd like to introduce someone who has had a meaningful impact in our work. I first met Catherine Greenberg while working at Goodwill, Minnesota, leading teams of social workers and case managers. After COVID and the hurricanes, our staff were burnt out and had compassion fatigue. Catherine came in and helped us understand the impact of secondary trauma and how to support those we serve and those doing the work. Thanks to support from the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, she's been providing trauma education to our residents and to individuals in the Sarasota County jails. Please help me in welcoming Catherine Greenberg to the stage.
I shouldn't be alive. I shouldn't be standing here today. I know the kind of pain that grabs your spirit and rips you apart until you feel like you can't breathe and you're hanging on by a thread and you wonder what in the world God has planned for you because all you want to do is die. I also know what it feels like to come alive. And as I walked out of my last treatment center in 2011, I realized that I didn't want to die. I actually wanted to live, but so completely differently from how I had been existing. By the grace of God, I am here. My mama is here today. My mom is going to be 85 in 2 weeks, and she's here. She flew up from DC to hear me speak. My dad got stuck home in DC because, well, he's a boy and he wasn't invited. But they're the parents who refuse to give up on their child again and again and again through treatment and hospitals and emergency rooms and calls at 2 a.m. and tears and heartbreak. And I stand here today because they loved me when I was not easy to love. So to you and to Dad, my deepest thank you. And to my husband, Sam, who do not feel sorry for him because he's on a cycling trip in Western Europe with his buddies. But I love him too. So to all those folks who loved me then, who love me now, this is what brings me here to talk about this work. The opposite of trauma isn't healed. It's aliveness, it's connection, it's curiosity, it's play, it's presence. It's the life that could not exist when your only job was to survive. I have not met anyone who wakes up in the morning and says, how can I detonate my life today? How can I possibly screw this life up? Let me do that. Haven't met that person yet. No child grows up dreaming of addiction. No teenager hopes to end up in a courtroom. But the thing about human beings is we are extraordinarily good at surviving. And sometimes the strategies that once kept us alive become the very things that later destroy our lives. This is where trauma lives, and this is where healing must begin. The word trauma is a Greek word, and it means wound, which I think is perfectly fitting. Trauma is not the event. It is what happens inside your nervous system because of the event. It is what happens when a human nervous system, which is your brain and your body and every single nerve connected to it, experiences way too much for way too long, or too little for too long. And we have to figure out, how do we endure this alone? There will always be hard stuff. But the hard stuff becomes trauma when we're alone with it. And when we are alone with it, our nervous systems brilliantly adapt. And they begin to rewire. But rather than connection, they rewire for protection and they armor up. And they reorganize around one simple yet very raw instruction: survive. Not thrive, not flourish, not live your best life. Simply figure out how not to die today. And sometimes trauma is something that never happened at all. Protection that never arrived, comfort that never came, safety that never showed up when it was needed most. We don't need trauma-informed care when life has been gentle and kind and safe. Trauma-informed care exists because for many people, it was none of those things. Many of the people who enter the criminal justice system have spent years, often decades, living in survival mode. They learn very early that this world is unpredictable and unkind. It is chaotic and unsafe and inconsistent. So they learned how to react quickly. They learned how to scan for danger. They learned to read rooms like a hawk. They learned to predict what was coming. They learned to brace. They learned to defend. But what we see from the outside is rage and impulsivity and numbing and isolation and addiction. And from the outside, these behaviors can look like defiance, irresponsibility, or what we label bad choices. But trauma-informed science tells us something very, very different. That each of these behaviors is a survival adaptation. They are our systems doing whatever they can to protect us, not destroy us. For a long time, systems have asked this question: what's wrong with you? Trauma-informed care asks a very different question. What happened to you? And an even more important question: what happened to you that made this behavior make sense? Addiction has often been framed as a failure of character, a lack of discipline, a moral defect. But addiction is not the original problem. Addiction is the symptom. It is, again, our nervous system trying desperately to regulate pain that it had no idea how to process. At its core, addiction is self-soothing, gone totally rogue. And there is no human being on God's given earth that will not self-soothe. The question becomes, will the self-soothing bring more safety or will it bring more harm? It's not about getting high. It's about relief. And when you're in that kind of pain, you don't care if it's slow suicide. You care that you can breathe. Alcohol slows your racing mind. Drugs numb unbearable memories. Compulsive behaviors create moments of respite for bodies that live constantly on edge. The substances become a stand-in. They are comfort. They are connection. They are belonging. They are friendship. They are the bandage. They are a damaging bandage, but a bandage nonetheless. Ineffective behavior, whatever it may be, is not the truth of who somebody is. Ineffective behavior is not the truth of who somebody is. It is usually the only strategy they had available to meet a need they were never taught to meet effectively. That's our job. That's our work. I was in a courtroom last week. My client stood there. He's 61 years old, and his hands were clasped, and his shoulders were tight, and he was worn from barely existing for most of his life. He was waiting to hear what would happen to his life. He wasn't looking at the judge. He wasn't looking at his attorney. He was staring at the floor like he already knew how this story would end because it had so many times before. On paper, his story looked like charges, violations, violence, mistakes. But when you lean in and listen, you hear the story underneath it. Decades of survival, a home where safety was never guaranteed, a nervous system that learned to brace long before it ever learned to trust. The person standing there was not a case file. He was a human being who did his best to survive the only way he knew how. And survival is never the wrong response. Everybody in here has survived 100% of their worst days. I had the honor of testifying on his behalf. I told the court about the man I have worked with for the past 2 years after he graduated from the Restore program. The work, the healing, the way he stayed, the way he tried, and the way he transformed. He had done the hard, quiet work with no applause of processing his trauma. And that day, because somebody finally told the whole story, not just the charges, not just the behaviors, he was granted early termination of his probation. Trauma-informed care does not remove accountability, that's not what I'm saying, but it does change the question. So not just what consequences will fit this behavior, but also what conditions might exist so this person no longer needs the behavior. Because healing will never, ever grow in environments of shame. And I can promise you this, no trauma survivor has ever, ever, ever healed through shame. They heal in environments of safety. But you cannot heal a nervous system in the same environment that taught it to be afraid. Safety isn't a reward for good behavior. It is the condition that makes change possible. I will never ask someone to be productive before they feel safe. And when we feel safe, something remarkable and beautiful and glorious happens. Our bodies settle, our minds clear, and we begin to learn how to calm ourselves, how to tolerate difficult emotions, how to ask for help, how to repair relationships, how to plan a future that doesn't look exactly like our past. So when people experience safety first, structure, education, accountability, the story begins to change. And this is why programs like Project 180 matter so deeply. It is why it is such a privilege to be a part of the 180 family. Because transformation happens around people who are willing to see more in someone than the worst moments of their life. People who are willing to say, yes, my friend, your behavior needs to change, but your humanity is absolutely not up for debate. Underneath the addiction, the charges, the mistakes, the ineffective behaviors, these are human beings who learned to subsist the best way they could. Trauma-informed care begins with a simple but pretty radical belief. Behavior will always make sense when we understand the wound underneath it. Always. But we can only behave to our own level of healed trauma. And we can only communicate to our own level of self-awareness. And when we create spaces rooted deeply in dignity, compassion, kindness, curiosity, creativity, play, joy, we do way more than change individual lives. We help people rediscover something they have forgotten long ago. That you are not defined by the ways you learned to survive. And when a person who has lived their life in survival finally experiences safety, they don't just change, they transform. And that transformation ripples outward into families, into communities, into the lives of children who will grow up differently because somebody was given a second chance instead of a label. And the work we don't do will become the work of our children. This work is not just about reducing recidivism. It's not just about treatment. It's not just about programs. It is about whether we believe human beings can come alive. And if we believe that, and we do, because I know everybody here in this room does, then the work we are doing here, it's not just important. It is life-changing, it is family-changing, it is generation-changing. That is the power of this work, and that is why it matters. And if I may, I spent a lot of my life trying to die, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Why was I so broken? And I went to a wonderful, very progressive high school that was incredibly supportive and kind. And I was introduced to poetry and art in high school. And that was where I realized that creativity is absolutely essential in our path to healing. And I began to write. And I'm quite sure, in addition to all the beautiful souls I was surrounded with, writing saved my life. And so I would be honored if I could share a poem with you here today. It is called The Hum of Us. There is a hum in the world, a low and living thing, a thread between heartbeats, a tether between hands. It weaves around wounds, wraps its arms around ache. Not just a sound, but a signal. Not just a place, but a promise. Not just a moment, but a movement. And when the ground shifts beneath us, when our own edges unravel, the hum does not hush, it deepens, rooting us to one another, threading strength through fragile fragments, holding space for what sears without rushing its repair. It is the breath between breakdown and becoming, the steady rhythm that reminds us, even in the undoing, we are never undone. The village is the chorus that carries the tired, the light left on for the lost. It is hands that build, arms that open, voices that rise when one is silenced. It's the neighbor who knows your name like a prayer, the friend who hears what you don't yet know how to say. Because we were never meant to move alone. We were never meant to stand in silence. And we are the hum, the hymn, the hope. We are the village, and we are what makes it home. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. We love you and we know how amazing you are. Now, please join me in welcoming Rebecca Abramson, from the Director of Community Impact from the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. In addition to supporting nonprofits throughout our community, they've also provided funding for Barbara to explore a social enterprise model for Project 180, helping us build a path towards generating our own revenue, creating a training ground for a variety of job skills, specializing in entrepreneurship, while also becoming a much-needed second chance employer in the community. We're incredibly grateful for your investment in our future.
Oh, wow, Catherine. Of course, I have to come after you. You know, opportunities are the building blocks of accomplishment, and every community truly is measured by how much opportunity is given to every person who lives in it. Simply put, thriving communities are made up by thriving individuals. And that belief is the core of the work that we do at the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. And it is the reason that we are so proud of the work that we've done with Project 180 and our longstanding relationship. Project 180 closes the opportunity gap by providing a loving lifeline to individuals who are facing some of the most challenging and vulnerable moments on their paths to stability. What happens in those moments, the hours, the days, the months beyond incarceration, can be the most critical element of rebuilding a life. And Project 180 gets that. Reintegration is a team effort, and it requires a thoughtful and holistic approach. But helping those individuals is not enough. Successful healing also relies on community perception of the criminal justice system and those who are involved in it. And Project 180 gets that too. It helps the broader community understand the complexity of the system, the individuals who are involved in it, and the complexity of re-entering society. The educational part of their mission is carried out in large part through luncheons like these. We just heard from a great speaker who helped us understand trauma, for example. And it's this two-pronged mission of providing transformational healing to formerly incarcerated people and of deepening the understanding of people like me who might not know the full reality of the challenges that these people face that sets Project 180 apart. It's an organization that at its core honors the humanity, the vulnerability, and the courage of people involved in the system. And it also encourages the broader community to do the exact same thing. I'll never forget my first time visiting a Project 180 house when I met Barbara. The house was one that our community foundation helped to secure in contributing to the home's purchase. And I didn't know what to expect, but I'll be honest with you, I was kind of expecting it to be a somber experience. And I knew these people were just at the beginning phases maybe of rebuilding their entire lives. I couldn't imagine the lift. But instead, it was really a joyful experience. There was so much camaraderie. There was discussion of what they did, what the workday looked like, what was going to be for dinner that night. And in the couple of hours that I spent with these guys and with Barbara, I felt a change inside me. And since then, and thanks to Project 180, I have learned a lot about reentry. I've made friendships that I treasure, and I've come to understand that I can't support my community without supporting the work of Project 180. The work this organization does is that central to our community's well-being. The team here transforms trajectories, both for those who have been in the system and for those like me and maybe like some of you out there who have gained a deeper understanding, developed compassion, and been compelled to join this movement. Project 180 disrupts intergenerational patterns of addiction, isolation, and hopelessness that lead to incarceration. It builds joy, hope, and love. And our community foundation is truly proud to support the work, which strengthens our community by ensuring that some of our most vulnerable neighbors, having lived through unimaginable experiences, now have the opportunity to find their voice, to rebuild, and to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Before I ask a few of our residents to share what they prepared for you, I want to thank and acknowledge two of our program graduates who are now both staff at Project 180. They spend their weekends taking our residents shopping at Costco and responding to late-night phone calls when their peers are in distress. Get your autographs now, because these two are the video podcast hosts to our podcast called Uncuffed Conversations. Thank you, Max Shoe Studios, shout out, where they interview their peers and share stories of brotherhood and transformation. Our relationships with the individuals we serve begins 3 months before they're released. David Harris, or Yogi, as we so lovingly call him, is the person responsible for reaching out to the prison reentry officers throughout the state of prison to establish connect with any man or woman returning to Sarasota or DeSoto counties. He makes sure he knows what people need, and he meets them at the bus stop when they return to our communities. And if I know Yogi, often with a hug waiting. He makes sure they have a place to sleep, a phone to check in with parole. Sometimes he takes them to get a haircut, buys clothes, connects them with employers, and takes them to have a meal. He basically makes sure they have everything they need to get back on their feet and an opportunity to choose another way to live. He asks every man the same question. So, what's gonna be different this time out? He has a very deep voice. Thank you, Yogi. Where are you at? Stand up, Yogi. Where are you? Oh, yeah. There he is. There he is. Yogi, thank you for being the guy willing to drive to Orlando on the holiday to make sure someone doesn't sleep at the bus terminal. Let's give him another round of applause. I'd also like to thank and congratulate our recently promoted Director of Residential and Reentry Services, Seth Campbell. When Yogi meets men who are interested in our residential program, Seth is the one that determines if they're a good fit. He vets them by asking them to call him each week. He wants to make sure that they are really ready to make changes, and he's the guy who makes sure that we're bringing the right people into the program. Seth is the person responsible for our residential program and for all of our 3 homes. He meets with residents one-on-one every 30 days, helps them set goals, and coaches Yogi and our house leaders, making sure that they're holding everyone in the house equally accountable. Thank you, Seth, for being someone all of our residents and our staff can count on when it matters most. Please stand so we can applaud for you. And now we've asked a few of our residents if they would be willing to share some of their experiences with you today. So at this time, I would like to welcome to the stage Chase Astraco, Bindu, and Glenn Lewis.
Hello, my name is Chase. My name is Chase, and I'm an addict. Today, I'm here to tell you a little about myself and about the impact Project 180 has had on my life, because it truly has left its mark on me in the best way possible. To put it simply, my life, if you could even call it a life, was a mess before this program. For most of my life, I was stuck in the revolving door of addiction and incarceration. My addiction controlled everything I did. I would do whatever it took to support it, and that always led me right back to jail. And every time I got released, I had nowhere to go except back to the same places, the same people, and the same habits that kept me stuck in that addiction. So the cycle would just start all over again. I felt trapped in a life I didn't want. Honestly, I didn't even like myself during my addiction. I felt hopeless, like this was all I was ever gonna be, forever. I first heard about Project 180 while sitting in a jail cell. It was just through word of mouth. And to be honest, I thought they were selling me a dream. It sounded too good to be true, but at that point in my life, I was desperate for something different. I knew if I went back to the same life again, nothing was gonna change. So I made the call. And after weeks of talking, waiting, hoping, and praying, I got the news that they were gonna pick me up at the gate. Thank you, Yogi. Project 180 didn't just give me a ride when I got out. They gave me an opportunity to rebuild my life, to learn who I really am, and to become someone I could actually be proud of. They gave me things I never had before: structure, support, accountability, and people who actually cared about me. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who wanted to see me succeed. The people I met in the program didn't just encourage me, they pushed me. They held me accountable when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And they reminded me that I was capable of more than the life I had been living. Because of Project 180, my life today looks completely different than it ever has before. Today, I have a career that I truly enjoy and I can see a future in. I have a bank account, a savings account, and a credit score. Things I never thought would matter to me, but today they do. Because they mean stability, they mean responsibility, they mean I'm finally living like an adult instead of running from my life. Even more important than that, I have healthy relationships today. My family is back in my life, and my son knows who his father is today. Not only does he know who I am, he's proud to call me his father. Today I'm working to build a life for myself and my family. For a long time, I've always wanted to be somebody, but I didn't know how to get there. Today I can honestly say I am somebody. I don't want to be remembered for the things I did when I was in my addiction. I want to be remembered for the man I became after it. For the first time in my life, I'm not just surviving, I'm living. I truly owe Project 180 for that, for giving someone like me a chance when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you very much.
My name is Benjamin Dew. So I stand here today not as a victim, but as a survivor. And that distinction cost me everything to learn. For a long time, my life was shaped by things I didn't choose. I experienced sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional and mental abuse, the kind that doesn't just leave bruises, it rewires how you see yourself, how you trust people, and how you exist in the world. It taught me to stay quiet. It taught me to disconnect, and it taught me that pain was normal and that my voice didn't matter. And as a man, that silence ran even deeper, because we're told something early on. Whether anyone says it directly or not, we're told to tough it up, push it down, to not cry, to not talk about it, to not feel. We're told that emotions are weakness and that vulnerability is something to be ashamed of. So I did what a lot of us do. I buried it. And when you bury pain like that, it doesn't disappear. It grows. It leaks into everything, into your decisions, your relationships, your identity. And for me, it led straight into substance abuse, because drugs and alcohol became the only way I knew how to cope with something that I didn't have the tools or the permission to face. But here's the truth I've learned. You can't heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Recovery didn't start when I got sober. Recovery started when I got honest. Honest about what happened to me. Honest about how it affected me. Honest about the fact that I was hurting deeply. And that's where trauma therapy changed everything for me. So working with my therapist, Miss Kat, Miss Amber, two amazing women who saw me not as broken, not as weak, but as someone worth understanding. It gave me something. Love you too. That I'd never really had before. A safe place to be real. A place where I didn't have to perform strength, I could actually build it. They helped me connect the dots between my trauma and my addiction. They helped me understand that the behaviors I once hated myself for were actually survival mechanisms. And more importantly, they helped me learn that survival is not where the story has to end. Healing is possible, but it's not easy. It's uncomfortable. It's raw. It means sitting with things you spent years trying to outrun. It means feeling emotions you were taught to suppress, and it means redefining what strength actually looks like. Because I'll tell you this right now, strength is not silence. It's not pretending you're okay when you're not. It's not numbing yourself just to get through the day. Real strength is facing it. It's speaking it, and it's choosing to heal when everything in you wants to shut down. And that's what Project 180 has given me. It gave me structure when my life had none. It gave me accountability when I needed direction, But more than anything, it gave me a platform to rebuild, to grow, and to become a man who doesn't run from his past, but learns from it. For the first time in my life, I'm not just surviving, I'm becoming. Becoming someone who can sit in his truth without shame, who can feel without fear, and someone who can use his voice, not just for himself, but for others who are still stuck in silence. Because I know I'm not the only one. There are men out there right now carrying the same weight that I carried, men who were hurt, men who were told to keep it in, and who turned to substances because they didn't know any other way. And if my voice can reach even one of them, if it can make one person feel less alone or give one person the courage to speak, then everything I've been through has purpose. I am not defined by what happened to me. I am defined by what I chose to do next. I chose to face it, I chose to heal, and I chose recovery. And today I choose to stand here, not in shame, not in silence, but in strength. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Glenn Lewis, and I have 2 years clean, and as of a week ago, I'm officially a graduate of Project 180. Thank you. It's bittersweet, you know. I'm gonna miss the fellowship in the house. I'm not gonna miss roommates that don't wash their hands. It's true, it's true. They come in the kitchen like, hey, you want some of this? Nah, bro. But seriously, it's true, it's good. But seriously though, I'm really incredibly grateful for this program being available for me when I was finally ready to change my life. For me, 180 was here, you know. So I'll tell you about a little bit about me. I grew up in a neighborhood where probably 85% of the families in the hood were either sold drugs or used drugs. That's the neighborhood I grew up in, and it was everywhere. So it wasn't hard to find. And then I was that innocent kid. I was that innocent kid who was riding a bike, found drugs, and turned into an addict riding a bike. I never really grew up to be a responsible adult. My father tried to help me, but I rebelled, stubborn, thinking things were okay. I look back now as I drive past where I used to sleep outside, past the dumpsters I used to eat out of, think things were not okay. Thank you, love you. Like, that's how much of a 180 I've done. I'm proud of the man I am today. I'm 40 years old this year, and I think for the first time in my life, I get to show my father I have my own place with brand new furniture, 2 blocks from the beach. All the bills are paid. I have a nice car, 2 cars really, they both run. They both have registration and tag and insurance on them, right? I have a great job, a 401k, healthcare. I have an investment portfolio, doing well. I've got credit cards for the first time in my life. And I've got goals. And I came here to this program 2 years ago with nothing. Nothing but willingness to never go back to hopelessness again. I tried a lot of things to get clean in the past and fix my life. I tried moving to a new city. I tried drying out in jail. None of these methods ever worked for me. This program, along with the 12-step fellowship, is the only place I've ever found sustainable recovery, sustainable peace, and sustainable growth. Before I went to treatment, my PO at the time told me, Project 180 is where guys go to make it. She was right. When I was at inpatient rehab, Seth Campbell would come in and hold meetings, a meeting every other week in a rehab of 40 guys that was voluntary. So sometimes those meetings would only have maybe 2 of us in there. And Seth would say, that's okay, we'll still have a meeting. Seth, I don't know what reentry program that other guy went to, but for me, you made a difference, man. Thank you, 180, for doing what you do. And thank you for giving hope to us to be something when all we ever knew was nothing. I carry that hope with me today, and I share with others when I can. Lastly, I want to say, although recovery is just, excuse me. Lastly, I want to say that although recovery is a Just for Today program, I think you got to set goals. So my goal for today is to come back to the Strong Voices Lunch 2027 and share with y'all how I'll be able to share with y'all I have 3 years clean. I'd like to thank my family for being here. I want to thank my sponsor for his dedication and guidance, and for all of you who helped move this wonderful program forward. Please hear my words and know you make a difference. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for your bravery and strength and for sharing just a small piece of your story with us and everyone here today. I'd like to invite one more partner to talk about why this work matters. Thanks to a very generous grant from this organization, we were able to pay off the loan for our 3rd house. We were able to increase wages so all of our staff makes living wages, and bring on additional support to strengthen our fundraising efforts. Please join me in welcoming Matt Sauer, Collaboration and Impact Officer at the Charles and Marjorie Branzik Foundation.
Wow. I'll do my best. That was just amazing. Lately at the Branzik Foundation, we've had a lot of discussions about the power of grace. In the religious sense, grace is a gift rather than a reward. It's a gift through faith, not by works. I'm sure everyone in this room can recall grace bestowed by people we knew and some by people we didn't, and what a warm feeling that created. Not only affirmation of the essential goodness of humans, but a boost to our sense of worth. If we were all nothing more than the worst act that we have committed, then none of us would merit forgiveness. But all of us, and most especially these gentlemen you heard from today, I lost my place, pardon me. They are so much more than their worst acts. Grace to me is almost synonymous with the giving of second chances, or third if that's what you need to find your path. I've always been humbled by these gentlemen, and I hear their stories, and those stories more often than not involve a difficult youth, and I feel humbled. I think to myself, how would I have fared? And if not well, would I be able to rise above those challenges like these gentlemen have? I cannot answer that. Maybe some of you can. What I do know is that these gentlemen should all be proud of what they have overcome and achieved. I've said this before in front of this group, this very group. If pain and adversity teach wisdom and appreciation of the present, these gentlemen are some of the wisest and most mindful people among us. Do we have any C.S. Lewis fans out there? Yes. All right. If you're a C.S. Lewis fan, you've probably read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. 4 children during the bombing of England in World War II are hosted for their safety in the countryside. In this old manor house full of interesting things, they find their way through a wardrobe into the magical land of Narnia, where the White Witch has taken control and is weeding out her enemies. The children take the side of the resistance, all but their brother Edmund. Edmund is trapped by the witch. He's trapped by the White Witch herself through insincere flattery, delicious candy, and some other things into betraying his siblings. And Aslan, who is Narnia's rightful ruler. Aslan is the lion in this book's title, and so much more than that. And he gives his own life to spare Edmund the consequences of his treachery. Aslan first brings Edmund back to his brothers and sisters, and he says, "Here is your brother," and there is no need to talk to him about what is past. Grace. We all have some smaller opportunities for it in everyday life. The obnoxious driver who you let merge in front of you, the exhausted but well-meaning cashier who you wait patiently and with understanding to correct their mistake, the waiter who screws up your order but still earns a healthy tip, the teaching moment rather than the tirade when your child does something ridiculously stupid. Grace is disarming. It's good for the soul. Eye contact, a smile, a kind word when it's not expected can sometimes move mountains. I think a healthy dose of grace would serve our country well right now. If you want to see examples of grace well invested, then look at these gentlemen sitting amongst you. You can be certain they understand it and that they pay it forward every day, and we should too. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Before we close today, I'd like to recognize some very important people in the room. First, I'd like all Project 180 graduates who are here today to please stand. Thank you, guys. These gentlemen represent what transformation looks like. Thank you. And now I'd like to ask our current residents to stand. Thank you, guys. These men are doing the hard work of rebuilding their lives every single day, choosing something different, building new habits, and learning how to live a new way. Gentlemen, we see you, we support you, and we're proud of you. Project 180 exists because people like you believe in second chances. When we talk about support, we often mention things like cell phones, transportation, and work supplies, but the truth is these things are not small. They're often the difference between moving forward or going backwards. Because if someone doesn't have a way to get to work, to check in, or stay connected, they will find a way. And too often that means going back to the same patterns that brought them there in the first place. What we provide isn't support, it's stability, it's accountability, and a real opportunity to choose a different path. For so many, it's truly the difference between life continuing to move forward or fall apart. And now we're expanding to open a women's house because the need is just as urgent. We've met with our community partners, and we're board has agreed. We're ready to go with the purchase of a women's home. So if today moved you, I invite you to give, because that's what we're building together. It's more than a program. It's a second chance, because for every dollar given, it helps someone who once felt forgotten discover something that many of us take for granted: hope. There's a pledge card in front of each of you, and we invite each of you to write checks or use the QR code. We take cash, check, or charge. If you have something to put in your blue envelope, you can put it there now and raise your hand, and we'll have some board members walk around and collect those envelopes, or you can use your QR code to scan. We thank you in advance for your continued generosity and recognize that we can only fulfill our mission because of each of you. Also, our beautiful centerpieces are for sale for $100 if you're interested. Before we close, I just want to thank a couple people. First, Amber Whittle, hi, our newly hired Director of Fund Development. Thank you for your mentorship and support. And also a very special thank you to Stacy Rickelman. Not only does Stacy help the women that we serve in our first week out with Yogi, she is our brand and operations manager / event task manager planner extraordinaire. Let's hear it for her for all her hard work in putting today together. Thank you, Stacy. And before you leave, I have 2 quick mentions. First, the Giving Challenge is April 15th and 16th. During that time, donations from $25 to $100 are matched, so we hope you'll join us again then. Also, please check your emails. You've all just been sent a survey. So before you head out, if you could take a minute to complete the survey, there is a little bonus in there, an exciting little announcement for you when you do that. Thank you for being here, thank you for listening, and thank you for believing in Project 180. Have a wonderful afternoon.